my wife got me to starting to save animals maybe about 20 years ago. So there's always either a dog or a cat that we're saving. Uh, of course, they start off here at my studio and then eventually end up at my home. So
Oh,
yeah, so we save animals as well, aside aside from creating.
welcome to Talk the Talk. It is a fabulous day, and it is wonderful to be joined today by Mr. Gerardo Medina. Sir, you are an amazing artist. We welcome you to our platform. We like to highlight Latino artists and creatives, people that are movers and shakers that have been doing things in and around the Rio Grande Valley specifically. And I know that we're really blessed that we have you here in the Rio Grande Valley.
Thank you for having me on your show. Um, it takes a melting pot to make things, colorful and a great cornucopia of colorful things that are going on. So I'm glad to be a part of that. Especially, of course, I'm an older guy nowadays, so it's a good mixture with a lot of the new talent out there. So it all works out well together, I would say.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And that's your artwork behind you, is it?
Well, it's one that I'm
Or
working on. I'm here at my studio. I'll do a quick little turnaround. This is my studio. This is one that I'm starting. It's kind of a big one right there. You'll see stuff around my studio.
Wow.
And probably every so often you'll see my little buddy. We have a cat. We always have a cat in the studio, so he'll pop in every once in a while. But yeah, I'm here at my studio, and I'm always starting something new to finally get it ready for display where I'm going to show some pieces. Well, especially nowadays, I have my daytime job that I have to do what I do. So of course, it's a little different. So some pieces may take up to like 2 years, 2.5 years to finish. But I'm always in creative mode. Yes, ma'am.
That is awesome. Where's your studio located?
It's in downtown McAllen, right close to Archer Park, in the where the Salt restaurant is at,
Mm-hmm.
in that area.
Oh,
But basically,
wow.
it's the arts district, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where my studio is located. I've been here, wow, like 6 or 7 years now, 6 or 7 years. So, you know, I was in a bigger studio with two other artist friend of mine that we painted back in the late '90s. I don't know if you've ever heard of Omar Manso
Mm-hmm.
uh, and Joel. What's Joel's last name? I can't remember Joel's last name. But these are guys that I used to pay when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. So I think it was like 3 years ago. I had an art show in Edinburgh at the Sidebar, and I decided to invite some of the old guys. So they showed up and they came to my studio and they're like, "Hey, like, wow, you're still doing it." I said, "Yeah, I still do it as much as we used to." I said, "But I still do it. It's like riding a bike. You know how to ride a bike. You just don't do it as much as you need to, or you start getting training wheels again."
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, so they came to my studio and say, "Hey, let's get a studio together." So we got a pretty huge studio. But then that's when the pandemic hit, and that's
Oh.
when, like, right after getting the studio, the pandemic hit, and then of course, Joel, I know he does a lot of stuff with the traveling circus, so he had to stop, and then Omar does therapy, uh, so that business came down. So they're like, we can't pay rent anymore. What we have is, of course, we got to try to get through this. So they ended up having to step away from the studio. So I had signed a 1 year contract, and we're here with like about 1 year. Every year we got to sign a new contract. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm staying here. So I stayed in the big studio to end my contract, And then after that, I kind of sized down half size, and that's where I'm at now. So, but I always had a studio. I've had a studio since the day I moved back from graduating art school in Dallas. So when I moved back, I've always had a studio. You know, I can't create work out of my house, out of my garage. I need to like step away from reality, and of course, and get to a place where I can just like, you know, step away and think freely and just hit a canvas. My stuff is never, I never draw it out. I'm an illustrator by heart and by train. I can illustrate all day long, but when I'm going to do an art piece, uh, I attack it. I don't know what's going to come out. I start, once I usually have kind of let me give you a little idea here. Tell me if you can see this.
Yes.
See, so that's my background. I'll usually just throw colors, start putting stuff on my back, and then eventually it starts ending up, like stuff like this, you know.
It all
So,
seems very organic, like it flows
well, yeah,
from you. I love it. It's really beautiful. I love the bold colors.
yeah. Over the years, of course, I used to be real earth tone. I was a big Francis Bacon, uh, Rufino Tamayo fan, and my colors were really dark and lots of reds and browns, very earthy, kind of scary, I would say. But over the years, I'm an older guy now. I keep on saying that. I don't know why. But I'm I'm happy with life. So I guess it kind of just shows in my paintings. Of course, they're still going to be a little weird. I can tell you, that's just like anybody else. You want to do stuff that it's different, that's going to be you. You want to do stuff, of course, that's never been seen before. So I guess every artist, as long as you're not looking at a reference, you're coming with stuff. You're coming up with stuff that never been seen before. And every artist is going to do their own original type of work. So with me, it's just like I'm happy with life. I I wouldn't change it. Well, maybe a few things I would change again. But yeah, my stuff has gotten really colorful over the years. Now I'm using like neons and glitter and stuff that probably would have never used before, but that I do now. So yeah, my stuff is usually I throw stuff on a canvas, start forming, start adding stuff, and then I start, since I'm an illustrator. That's why you'll see a lot of. I gotta have figures. To me, I have to have figures in my art. That's just the way. I'm an illustrator by train. I graduated from the Art Institute of Dallas. Uh, so I always have to have illustrations on top of my organic backgrounds. That's how I work.
I like it. No, I noticed. Actually, that was one of my notes that I was going to ask. Is it looks really interesting because it seems like there's a lot of like surrealist qualities in there, but then you also have very clean lines coupled with those bold colors, and again that like organic background that where everything kind of blends together. And I love it. I think it's unique, and it's so amazing how you talk about how your work has evolved, as you go through life. Because I think a lot of people that are creative, whether they're artists in painting or singing or acting, any type of art, really, any type of creativity, you have that evolution as your life progresses and as your perspective changes, I think.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
It's just
amazing.
like everybody changes. Of course, life goes through. You change with life. People, that's why, like, you cut your hair a different way, you color your hair a different way, you dress a different way. Back in the late '80s, I'm a musician as well, and I haven't stopped playing music. We've been playing music since I was probably like 16 years old. Uh, I still play music on Sundays, except for today because one of our guys got COVID. Uh, so we still get together with some of the high school guys that I used to play with. So every Sunday we get together, we play a little music. And over the years, of course, you change your music. There used to be a time in my life when I had big hair, colored hair. You know, uh, I wore lipstick and nail polish and all that stuff. So you change, and you want to you change to how you want people to see you. You know, uh, when I was younger, it was more about like, hey, look at me, and this is how I look. I want to look weird and stuff. Now it's like, just now I think I do that through my art. I'm more subdued. I've got grown up kids now. I don't want them to tell me like grow up, dad. You look like an idiot or something. So I got to be more dad like, and just to, I've done a lot of different things in life. I used to also be a hairdresser while I went to art school.
Wow.
I did hair for like about 4 years. So, women would come in and, they wanted different looks and stuff. So it's just how you want people to see you. And I want people to think, because now, during the day I have to, sometimes wear a tie, sometimes not wear a tie, wear a coat. I'm a private investigator. So a lot of times I have to go looking for people, so can't go looking for people looking all weird and stuff. So,
Well, you have to be inconspicuous, I would imagine.
yes, yeah. Sometimes even when I wear a cap and just a glass, people don't even know. Oh, hey, Jared, I didn't even know you were here. It's like, yes, I'm here. So yeah, so life is great. I did stop painting for a while because I had to raise my family. I got married, was living the struggling art life. Uh, and then it got to a point like, okay, you know what, this is, I need to make more money and I need to actually use my trait of what I went to school for, commercial art. So I stopped showing. I never stopped painting, but I just stopped showing. I had the opportunity, I think it was like in 2000, I had a gallery in New York that represented me. And then from there, I had another offer. And then Larry McPhillips, that used to run the cultural center here in McAllen, he set me up in New York. He goes, okay, Jerry, you're going to go and you're going to go do a residency for 2 years and you're going to show and I'm going to help you and this and that. And I had just fallen in love with my wife and I had just, we started going out. I met my wife years ago at a wedding. I met her at a wedding, what was it? What do you call those when they set you up a blind date? A friend of mine his sister was getting married and he invites me, hey man, I was down from art school. He was like, hey, my sister's getting married. Come on, let's go. I don't even have a date. He goes, nah, dude, I'm going to set you up. I'm like, I don't know about that one. Okay. So we went on a blind date. I met the girl there. I kind of knew who she was because I knew her brothers. So I was like, all right, great. We had a great time. I caught the garter belt. And then one of our friends, his name was Joey. He goes, hey, y'all need to get married. Y'all going to get married. And he was all drunk. I said, Joey, I just met this girl. We're not going to get married, Joey. So fast forward, I went back to art school, graduated, came back, and I used to run a lot. So then I kept on running into her. Well, I invited her up on a date. We went on a date, and in 7 months, we're married. And now it's been 28 years later.
So Joey knew.
Yeah. So 28 years later, married, got grown kids. So part of my life I had to put on hold because I was like, either I was going to run off and do the artist thing, or I guess maybe the starting artist thing, or whatever I was trying to, whatever was going to happen in New York. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. So I decided to stay because I fell in love, and I think I made the right choice. Life only gives you certain opportunities, and within that time frame that you're gonna be living. So I didn't go, so I stayed. I never stopped painting. I just stopped showing till 3 years ago, and then I started up again. And now my wife is like, okay, well, they can see here's my little buddy. So So yeah, so now I've kind of gone full circle, and here we are all over again, and I think it's better. Uh, I'm content with it, and I think I'm a little bit well. I'm more grown up now, so I know what certain things I need to do. So that's what we're at.
Well, that's awesome. And it's interesting because I uh I share a lot of those feelings, you make decisions and your life goes in different ways. And I kind of feel like as an artist, a lot of times you end up where you're supposed to end up, regardless. And so you've come full circle, and you're now, I would imagine, able to make more informed choices with where you show and maintaining your studio. And those are probably things that would have been more difficult for you to have been able to do at that younger age in an entirely different market, like in New York City. So, I mean, everything, it happens, and that's pretty amazing. That's a really neat story.
Yeah, yeah. You have two choices:
Hmm.
yes or no, right or left. Well, actually, three, maybe sometimes straight. But you always have two choices, and you gotta be content with your choice, because as long as it's always the right choice, right? Like it's got to be not like, okay, I'm gonna run off and do stupid things, and then you're over here, like, okay, well, I'm gonna run off and go to school. So you have two choices. Uh, be happy with your choices. I have friends, I have some close friends that go, I regret. Never have any regrets, because you can't do it all over again. You can do it again, but you can't do it all over again. That's the way I see it. And you made the choice for the reason that was going to be best for you at that time. But at least go through the whole process, and hey, if you're going to do this, do it right. That's one thing that my dad always say. Hey, don't tell me what you're going to do, just do it, but do it right. So I've always done it that way. It's like, okay, hey, you know what? This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it at the best of my ability, and I'm going to be okay with it, because that was my choice. Uh, I tell a friend of mine, it's like, hey, man, you never run out of time till the day you die. So whatever the hell you can do it. You have till the day you die. And I always tell my friends, hey, I want to live to 100. I see like 80 something, 90 something people, very mobile. So, hey, my goal is 100. So I'm okay. I'm gonna say I'm kind of a little bit past halfway there. So I still got time. Um, and like you said, yeah, like now my choices are a little better. Now I'm doing it for the right reasons, not like, okay, before, like, okay, hey, you know what, I'm painting and I'm drinking or smoking or doing some of the things I shouldn't be doing. Now, I'm painting, drinking a lot of water, drinking a lot of water, uh, you know, uh, it's better. It's in a healthier way. A lot of artists, when you're young, you need to take whatever type of psychedelias that you need to take, whatever to help you see. And it's a little different now, and I like it. I know what's going on, and try to make. I think I'm making the right choices. I'm setting up new shows. I'm going to be showing uh, in Westlaco again. I'm going to be showing in Brownsville. My next move is Laredo.
Wow.
I got some invitations in New York at an art show over there. So I'm liking it, and it's going to be a little easier, because before, like, certain things. One time, I think this is like early 2000s. I got invited to a show. I entered a competition, and I was one of the selected. Okay, and it was going to be a group show in New York. So I was selected. Well, I couldn't go because I didn't have enough money to go. So my art piece went. But now it's a little different. Now, hey, if I get selected, if I'm going to be part of group show or a one man show, I can make those trips now. So so it's all good.
It is. It is. It sounds like it's a really neat kind of combination of, yes, carpe diem, but kind of um not necessarily muted, but like coupled with, okay, carpe diem, but I got to take care of myself and make sure that I'm able to carpe that diem and I'm able
Yeah.
to live a little bit longer and take care of myself. Because I know what you're talking about in terms of being young and maybe making decisions that are not the best, and maybe they're more fun or they seem as if you're more fun, um, instead of drinking water, drinking other things, right? But ultimately, you you've got to make the most of your time here, and it sounds like you're definitely doing that, and I love it. It's really, really beautiful. You had that show in Westlaco.
Yes, I was in Westlaco. I had to go and meet a client, and then I was on their, what is it, Texas Boulevard, I believe, their main
Mhm.
street in Westlaco. So I had always seen the Westlaco Museum. So I walked in, and I was talking to the lady in the front, the receptionist, and then she goes, "Oh, Sheila, this young man is here, blah blah blah." So she comes out. So we start talking. It's like, "Oh wow!" She gives me a tour, and I was like, I had never really known that it's kind of long. It's a
Mhm.
historical museum. So she goes, "Well, do you like art?" It's like, "Yeah, I like art. I also paint and stuff." She goes, "Really?" It's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, can I see some of your stuff?" And I showed her some. I was like, "Oh my god, dude! Like, really?" It's like, "Yeah, well, I went to art school and I've been doing it for a long time. I just had before the pandemic, I had a show over here in Edinburgh, the Sidebar. They have a
Mhm.
little gallery in there." I said, I had a show there. And she goes, "Okay." And she goes, and I told her about my wife. I said, I think you have a little piece of my wife, because my wife and my son paint.
Oh,
And she goes,
wow.
"Oh, who's your wife?" And I said, "Elena Fernandez Medina." And she goes, "Oh, yes, that's the piece in my office." And she showed me the piece and stuff. Like, all right. She goes, "Okay, you know what? You want a show here?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll take a show here." I said, "But I want to do it a little different." I said, "You know what? I want to have a show with my wife and my son. I've always shown by myself or with other artists, but my wife paints and my youngest son paints." I said, "I'd like to have a family show." She goes, "Okay, well, whatever you want." So I had a family show. I told my wife. You know, my wife had never shown before. My son had never shown before. So they were like, "I don't know." My son's like, "Yeah, yeah, let's do it." And my wife's like, "Okay." Well, it got a little stressful for my wife, as it was getting closer and closer. She like even got a little sick, but she got through it. We had the show. It was good turnout. So it was a good experience for them, you know. For me, it's, of course, I've always just tried to build up my curriculum uh, again, you know, from what I had left off years ago. So it was good. It was a good show to come back after the pandemic, I would say. And then I'm going to be showing at the gallery at STC in Westlaco.
Mhm.
I'm going to be showing there. Uh, had a meeting. Well, actually, I'm a part of a group show in the Bronzo Museum. They have a Resaca, their yearly Resaca art show. So I went to meet with the director to show some of my stuff. She goes, "Okay, you know what? I'm going to send you a link. You're going to send my stuff. Now we have a board. You're going to go through the board." I said, "But I love your artwork. We'll go through the board, and that way we can set you up, but like for next year." I said, "Well, that's fine." And then she goes, "But you know what? We're having a Resaca show." It's like, "Oh wow, great! I'd like to, you know, put two of my pieces, my smallest pieces, because it has to be like a 24 by 36 or something." I
Mhm.
said, "Yeah, I'll
Mhm.
send you some." Well, and then after I sent them, like, I got a link back. "Yes, you're going to be in our art show or whatever." And then she goes, "But send me a write up of how your artwork represents La Resaca." I'm like, I don't do like, you know, murals of like landscapes and stuff. So I didn't send anything. So I went to the reception last Saturday, and of course you see a lot of resaca, type of the landscapes and stuff, and mine was the oddball, kind of weird. So yeah, so
It's
I
not
met
the
one of the
oddball. It stands out.
yeah,
It's
it kind of
unique.
stood out. It stood out, but they put me like away from everybody in an area where like, okay, this one doesn't really go, but it's here. Uh, that was kind of funny because I went and I was talking to one of the directors. She came, I had one of my weird T-shirts because I'll do my whatever. I have these things called big heads,
Mhm.
which is one of those paintings. Do these things called big heads that I developed, and she comes up to me, and I was with a friend, and she goes, "Oh, you must be one of the artists." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "Well, which one's your ones?" I said, "I'm like the one that's the oddball." She goes, "Oh, I love your artwork over there." We started laughing, so it was kind of funny. Uh, yeah, so I'm kind of building up, just like anything. Like what I tell clients, you always want to build your backyard before you can venture art. If you're not taking care of your backyard, how can you expect to go take care of other yards? So I'm kind of building up to, here in the valley again, so that way I can, go out to San Antonio, do the things that I did a long time ago, do them all over again. So yeah, because like there's been a big gap,
Mm.
now there's a lot of young artists out there, and great artists. There's some great young artists out there, and you know, and it's good. It kind of helps you. It helps me, and I think pretty sure it helps a lot of the people. It keeps you on your toes. So it's good to see a lot of artists out there and being part of it all over again.
Absolutely. I'm sure that it's I have some friends that are artists, and I actually saw, I think you're friends with one of my friends, Lilia Cabrera.
Cabrera, Lily Cabrera. Maybe she liked, and I invited
Hmm.
my friend and stuff.
She has some really, really beautiful pieces. She does amazing, amazing work. But she focuses on education.
Oh, cool.
And I'm a teacher by trade, so I try to incorporate a lot of artistic projects and things. And so she and I used to collaborate a
So
lot.
what do you teach? What do you teach?
I actually teach AP Human Geography.
Oh, wow.
So it centers a lot around culture and how people have evolved and how the earth has impacted people, and likewise, people have impacted the earth. And so there's a lot of art that we go through and that we look at, um, that really depicts that, and that shows humans' relationship with the earth and how it's ever changing. And
Yeah.
that's some of the stuff that I've seen in your work, the pieces that I've seen on your Facebook profile, the pieces that I've even seen just in your quick showing of your studio. And I think it's beautiful. It's really, really neat to see that. Um, and I think it's cool that you're meeting new artists, and I know that you keep coming back to the fact that they're young and they're new, but you know what? They can learn a lot from you and from the breadth of knowledge and experience that you have. You were mentioning how you did hair, how you also are an illustrator, and that's reflected, how you have all of these different experiences. You're a dad. I mean, so much of that is in your art. That's beautiful. That's your heart, and it's there, and it's depicted in a way that's unique to you. There are some people that I know that have started getting into art, some of my young students that have been art students, and they've gotten really, really, really good. But it's like they're trying to find their box. And I've told them before, you don't have to have a box. You don't understand. Everything is going to change. You are not the same person today that you will be in 5 years, in 10 years. And as long as you can keep connecting with yourself and with your art and with your creativity, you're going to be fine. Just be true to yourself. And it looks like that's what you've done. And it's really, really magnificent.
When I went to art school, and even before then, you know, did I do realism? How it like to where like it looked realistic? Not really. You know, I can do some realistic stuff. I don't like it because for me, if you're gonna do realistic, just take a photo. Uh, to me, it's like I went to art school and there was these guys that were like realism, like really good, great. And these there was kids from all over the U.S. And my thing was like, I want to do it however it comes out. I don't want to have to be looking at something like okay, erase. Uh, you know the hey, just put it on canvas. I mean, or paper or whatever you're going to put it on. Like my youngest son, we live in a world that's so fast, and they want to see results really fast, and it doesn't work that way. It's something that you have to build on because once you draw it, it may look a little strange, but once you start adding color, it's how you're evolving whatever you put on paper, whatever you put on yourself, whatever you, however you do your hair. Like okay, like yourself, you have beautiful hair. Now okay, like you just wake up and like at the one comb and everything just set. No, you gotta blow dry it, you gotta curl it, and you form it. And that's how kind of life is as well. You gotta form your life how you want it to be. You want to form your art however you want it to be. You gotta form. You know, it's always a work in progress. Life is a work in progress. Whatever you do is a work in progress. You're always going to have a start and an end, and everything in between is the fun part. So everything in between is a fun part, and then it's at the very end when you finish. Even now, like I'm an older guy. When I finish, and I see the process, and I have people come over. Well, I don't let a whole lot of people come over because when I paint, I have to be alone or with my cat and music. I grew up liking Francis Bacon, and like the Mayo, I'm telling you. Philip Burke, I don't know if you remember Rolling Stone magazine. You remember Rolling Stone magazine? They used to have an illustrator in there, and he did these weird. I don't know if you remember. It was always a musician, and it was just like a weird, drawing of a
Like,
musician.
yeah.
It was just so awkward. But every issue had an illustration of a musician, and that guy was Philip Burke, and I like that. But it was always not. It wasn't real. You could tell who it was. Uh, and just like Tamayo and Francis Bacon, Tamayo and Francis Bacon, they're the kind of the same, you know. So it's just like, hey, you know what? Once you finish whatever you do, it's going to look great. Especially if you put a lot of heart into it, you know, it's going to always look great. And is everybody going to like your stuff? No. That's why we have so many different. You would think like we only needed, two or three different type of model, car models or truck models, like so endless amount because just the slightest change, people like that. Oh, I want that, and then of course, we live in a society that like, we get tired of things pretty quick. We're always wanting to change our cars. You open up your closet and you probably have 50, 60 different types of shoes. So same way with art. It's just it's so endless. And it's fun, and I'm having fun, and it's good. It's I'll be doing it, I guess, till the day that I can't. uh you know it over the years it may get simpler, but I think as long as just like anything, I think as long as you're putting 100%, people can tell. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
People can tell.
Absolutely. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you so much. You had such wonderful words of wisdom, and your work is beautiful. And we're eager and excited to get the word out about your work and to
Perfect.
hopefully get more people to enjoy it with you.
Hey, thank you for having me on the show. Sorry for talking so much, but I guess if you ask a question, I'm going to answer it in so many different ways.
That's
And
the
but
best.
thanks for having me on your show, though.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.